welcome back to the channel, ladies and gents. We are here unboxing the PlayStation Portal. Now, I gave this a lot of grief in my balls and tinsel of 2023. This made the list. But Sony were kind enough to send me a copy of this accessory, so I thought we would do it justice and just unbox it and go through the specs, go through all the details, go about the pros and cons, and you can make your own informed decision as to whether or not this is an item worth having in your inventory. So, the big disclaimer I want to point out is that this thing is an accessory. Accessory. This is not a gaming console device, it's not a handheld console. It is a streaming accessory for your PlayStation 5. So with that huge disclaimer out of the way, let's have a little unbox. So as I'm unboxing this one, guys, I'm going to be talking about the specs of the accessory. I'm going to be talking about the screen resolution, the features that it comes with, and also talking about what my personal pros and cons are. So this will set the average customer back around £200. It's currently varied in price. I've seen some places offer it at £185, some places as high as £250, £300, but on average you're going to be looking at £200, and that's how much Sony will charge you if you were to buy that directly from their PlayStation store. It came in a very niche, very snazzy box, as you can see, very silkily packaged. I do have to give props to Sony for how well they package their items. It came in a really nice durable box, and I do actually use the grey box now to store the Portal within it. You can buy cases for the Portal itself. I do like this little lid thing there you can pull out, and it pulls it out like almost like a storage drawer. But the box is really, really durable. I like how it came sort of packaged. It came really safe, and everything in there was just well made. So it didn't feel cheap in any way, shape or form. A lot of people said they had gripes with how cheap it felt, and it didn't feel right in some of the handling of it and all that kind of thing. It feels cheap, but to me, it felt good, and it felt £200 worth of good. So looking at it straight away, it's a DualSense controller with a big screen in the middle of it, and straight away, I noticed the difference in the weight. There is a big difference in weight here. This thing is pretty dense. But it does pack a 1080 screen. It comes with a super bright, super nice screen, which you'll see in a second when I turn it on and I go through all the specs. But here we've got the PlayStation button, the share button. We've got a volume button on the back. We've also got a mic and a mute button on the front. Those are the volume keys there. And overall, that's sort of like a speaker. Left-hand side, you've got the power button and the link function button. And on the back, you've got an aux slot for a 3.5mm jack for wired headphones. There is no Bluetooth on this one, guys. So this is something that I will have to scream about, and I will have to be very, very clear about. This thing only links via the PS Link software. So as far as I'm aware, there's currently two types of software that use that. It's the brand new Pulse Elite headset, not the one that comes with the original PlayStation package, but the brand new Pulse Elite headset. Some of the places haven't released them yet. They're not available in some retailers, but you should be able to get your hands on one. The other thing that it pairs with is the wireless PlayStation Buds. Now, those are also going to set you back £200. So, if you're planning to play this thing wirelessly, you're going to have to buy the Pulse Elite headset, which again is going to push you back about £150 to £200. And the Link wireless buds are about £200 as well. So combine that with the cost of the accessory, you're looking at £400. But gripe number one aside, this will please the very simple PlayStation owners out there. So any of you that just want to enjoy your PS4 or your PS5 games library in another room, portably, which is where the name comes from, this is an accessory you do need to consider. And if you're not too fussed about wireless headsets or wireless buds, you can just use any headphones or any headset that has an auxiliary 3.5mm jack on it and just plug it in, and it'll do exactly what it says on the tin. So it just depends on what you're looking for. If you want something that's a little bit more robust, that has more features, that is able to do more things in terms of emulation, PS1, 2, 3, overall customization, the ability to change your screens, the ability to change your audio, more system settings. You're going to have to look at something like the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch or the Asus ROG Ally. There's absolutely loads and loads of handheld consoles that are now coming out, but if you're looking for something plain Jane, very basic, you're not too fussed about playing anything other than PS4 or 5, and you just want to have something that's portable, easy to pick up, that's very similar in terms of the feeling of the DualSense controller. And one thing I do have to shout about this accessory, guys, is the haptic feedback is brilliant. It literally feels exactly the same as a DualSense PS5 controller. You still get the haptic feedback, you still get the DualSense recoil and retraction and all that kind of stuff. It feels exactly the same. The one and only thing it does feel different is the thumbsticks. They feel really, really small on this, and there's a noticeable difference. I think that's just one to make the accessory appear bigger, because bigger's better, right?
Naughty, naughty. You teasing me, you naughty, naughty.
And also, it's probably not to obscure the screen. Now, that's a minor gripe. You get used to the feeling of the thumbsticks quite quickly, but it is something that I noticed straight away. Not just when I was playing a game, but as soon as I got this thing out of the box and I started messing around with the settings, I noticed very quickly how small these thumbsticks are. If you've got itty bitty thumbs, you'll be fine. But for me, it was a noticeable downgrade. Now, talking about the specs of this thing, we've already said that it's got a 3.5mm headphone jack. You have to have PS Link software in order to use, and an accessory to use the PS Link remotely with this. There's built-in speakers though, and they are quite respectable. The sound is obviously not something you're going to get in a cinema. It's not got built-in 3D Atmos surround sound audio. It's not a portable boom bar basically, but the built-in speakers on this thing are really respectable, and you can have it at sort of mid to high range volume and it booms. It really does make some nice noises, particularly if you're playing games that have a lot of explosions. There's a lot of action in there, and if you're playing something like God of War Ragnarok, where you've got a lot of amazing background music, sound effects, and you just really appreciate those violins on the Final Fantasy games, then you're going to really notice the speakers on this as well. It can deliver sound very, very well. So there's another option if you don't want to have to use headphones. If you want to play this loudly and proudly in another room, on the toilet, in the bath. Don't play in the bath, kids, but you pick your spot and you play this thing. It's got a respectable set of speakers on it, so it'll push out some really good sound. Aside from that, it's got an 8-inch LCD touchscreen screen, and I do have to say the screen is beautiful. It really does look amazing. As you can see right now, I'm going through an absolute plethora of installation updates, and I did a lot of this when I first fired this thing up. It took a good 20 minutes to get it up and running because I had to install firmware updates, not only for the controller, but for the system itself, for the Link software, for the language packages, the firmware of the PlayStation. Then it had to link to the PlayStation. Then there was another update. It went on for literally about 20 minutes. I couldn't do anything. I just kept that updating the patches. I kept installing all the fixes, and then I was finally able to get in.
A few moments later.
But anyway, the screen itself is really, really good. It's a 1920 by 1080 screen, and the resolution on it is about 60 Hz. Some people have managed to get 70 or more on it, but on the whole, you're looking at 60 Hz. So it's not going to be absolutely game-breaking in terms of some of the modern day monitors you can get out there for your PC, for your console. It's not going to match the big brand TVs like Sony, LG. You're not going to get that with this, but I do have to say the screen looks absolutely amazing. And what I've done here is just shown you with a higher resolution picture exactly how shiny and beautiful the screen does look. This is the initial setup of the accessory. So this is after all the updates have been installed. At this point, I'm just going through the quick menu. I'm looking at the settings. I'm connected to my Wi-Fi. But I did just change the screen just to show you guys. This is some of the settings as well. It's very, very basic. So you've got the Link headset. There's a brightness adjustment on there. There's airplane mode. And when you click on the settings of this thing, it's very, very basic in terms of what you get. You literally get the bare minimum, which is what I'm going back to. This is a basic accessory. You're not going to get something that's groundbreaking. You're not going to have multitudes of settings similar to the stuff that you get on the Steam Deck, where you can change your menu themes, you can change your sound effects, you can change the way that the colors pop, you can even change the startup screen of a Steam Deck. You can't do this with this. So this is what happens when you turn on the portal. You go to the connecting to PS5 screen, and then you literally just put in the PS5. It has to be on Wi-Fi, guys, but the really cool thing about this is that you don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi as the PS5 that you're trying to connect to. So you could take this on holiday all the way to Barbados, all the way to the West Indies, and you can, as long as you've got a good, strong Wi-Fi connection, your PlayStation has to be on, but you can connect to this thing anywhere as long as there's a Wi-Fi connection. There is very, very minimal lag. There is Lady Melania guarding everything, watching everybody, ready to destroy. So going back to it, this is just showing you some of the connections and some of the options. Like I said, it's very, very basic. But this is the settings menu. You've got system software updates, reset options, your language, date and time, and power saving. That is literally it for system settings. You've then got a display and brightness setting. And as I said, you've got brightness of the light bar, brightness of the mute button, and the screen brightness. That is it. But this thing is super, super bright. It looks, obviously it's a 1080, but there's times when I've looked at this and thought, God damn, the colors on this look really, really good. And it looks a little bit 4K in some of the games. Now, going back to the playability, going back to the specs, it's got a USB-C charging port. So some of you are probably wondering how the hell this thing works. Is it batteries? No, it's a USB charging port. So it's a USB-C. So it works with most Samsung phones, Google Pixel phones. Most people own a USB-C charging port, but it does come with one anyway. So it's got you covered. It's a USB connection. So you can just plug this one into a head of a socket. You can put it into your PC, your PlayStation, anything that allows a USB-A to C connection, basically. And this thing will charge. Now, when I got it out of the box, it was around 70% full of battery. And I managed to get 4 hours out of it before I had to charge it again, which I think is pretty impressive, considering the games I was trying on it were things like Call of Duty, God of War Ragnarok, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, so quite heavy in terms of frame rates, in terms of things that are happening on the screen. It's quite dense in terms of graphical capability, those games. So the fact that I was playing those sorts of games on it, and it still lasted around 4 hours, or just shy of 4 hours on a 70% battery, is pretty good. So when I charged it, it took around an hour and a half to 2 hours to fully charge from pretty much empty all the way to full, and it was ready to go again with a charge of at least 6 to 9 hours, which it promises anyway on the box. So as I said, you're not going to get absolute angles of creativity with this thing. It's a snazzy little model, it's a snazzy little screen, and I would say the screen and the haptic feedback are the two things I do really enjoy about this. It's a clever bit of hardware, it's a clever piece of kit. The screen itself is really, really nice. My one and only minor gripe with the screen is that you can't move it, because it just feels weird. When you hold the accessory, the screen feels like it should be lifted up a little bit more, like the controller pieces on the side should be a little bit lower, because you find yourself looking down at the screen because it's lower. And I think the reason they did it like that is just to make it more asymmetrical, make it look more pleasing on the eye. Everything's more lined up, so the top of the screen is in line with the top of the controller, all that sort of thing. But I think from practicality of gaming, and because this is a pretty dense screen, it's an 8-inch screen, it's quite tasty in terms of size, it kind of harnesses the fact that you have to look down at it quite a lot. Unless obviously you're playing against a desktop or you're in bed and you're sat up and all that sort of thing. But quite often when I was playing it, I found I was tilting it upwards, so I didn't have to crank my neck down to look at it as much. It's just one thing I did notice, and I have obviously got experience with other handheld consoles like the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, and the Switch. It was something that I noticed instantly with this thing. But again, a very minor gripe. Other than that, it's very, very pleasing on the eye. Everyone's going to enjoy the fact that it lights up. It's got an LED light on every single side of it. And it literally feels like a controller with a screen in the middle. There's obviously a bit more to it than that. It's quite impressive that they still managed to build in the haptic feedback. It works exactly the same way in terms of the DualSense controllers. You've got the mic button on the side. I haven't actually tested the mic on this, but I've heard that the mic's respectable. It's not amazing. It's not something you're going to get with a £300 streaming microphone or a £200 gaming headset that's got a built-in mic. You're not going to get that kind of quality, but it has got that feature. So if you are struggling for money, or you just want something that's bare bones, very simple, you don't really care about the quality, you're just going to link in with your friends online via the voice chat of this thing, there is a microphone functionality, just to make you aware. You've also got the share features on it as well. So if you want to save video clips, if you want to save your pics, screenshots, anything like that, that's all still there. So those haven't changed. And that again links into your PlayStation, because this is a remote play device, not a standalone console. So anytime you guys have used like the backbone accessories with your phone, your tablet, your TV, it remote plays your PlayStation right onto that device. This thing does exactly the same. This is exactly what it is. And this is why you won't find this thing in the console section of any catalog or product or any supplier that you buy this from, because it's not a console, it's an accessory. So I have to hammer that point again, because there's a lot of disappointed parents that have reached out to me and said, you know, I've read your review on this, I noticed your post, I noticed you said this. I've bought this for my child, and actually it can't do half the things that I thought it would. No, it can't, because it is an accessory to the PlayStation. So your PlayStation has to be on, or it has to be in rest mode for this to work. If your PlayStation's not on, if it's powered off at the source, you go on holiday and you take this thing with you, this thing is useless. It has to be in rest mode, or it has to be on. Only then can you connect to the goodness that is your PS5. But essentially what happens when you turn it back on, you will go to this portal screen, and every time you turn it on, you just have to fire up connect. Unless you press connect, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to see this portal screen in the middle. It's just going to keep loading the same animation, and nothing's going to happen. This is obviously a screen when you can mess around with your settings. You can check your Wi-Fi settings. You can look at your battery, look at the time. This is kind of like a hardware hub page before you actually go into the portal itself, and then you connect to remote play via the PlayStation. So once you press connect, it then loads a little bit, and then you go straight into the connection on the PlayStation, as if you're sat there playing it directly in front of you, ready to roll. So what do I think? Now, when I posted a few months ago about this, I was pissed, because Sony was kind of pitching that we were going to get a handheld device, and it was going to be this, it was going to be that, and we got this. I was expecting like a PSP or a Portal, like a Vita revamp or something like that. Something that was going to take the handheld market by storm, something that Sony was going to make their own. I would have loved a Vita revamp. I wouldn't have even needed a brand new handheld gaming console. I would have just loved something that would have respec'd the old one and just made it able to play PS4 and 5 games. If we could have had that, I would have been absolutely over the moon with it. But we didn't get that. So that is why I had a little bit of a flip. Because we were promised so much, and what we got was not the same. And a lot of the things that people talk about on their channels, I've seen a lot of people review this thing, and those people are paid to say certain things. And I'm going to give you an absolutely honest review on this, guys. I'm going to say exactly how I feel, and I'm going to say what the pros are, what the cons are, and you can make your own damn mind up. You can make your own informed decision, what works well for you. You can listen to me, you can not listen to me, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer. I personally feel that this ticks boxes. It gives something to people that are looking for something very basic, and if you want something that's literally just going to port your PS5 screen to another room, get this. Because you don't need a Steam Deck, you don't need to go through the hassle of installing the Chiaki device, the app that's on the Steam Deck that mirrors remote play. You know, if you're not techie enough and you don't like your settings, you don't like tweaking stuff, you don't like having to look at videos to try and work something out, this is the basic. This is as basic as it gets. You literally turn it on, you connect to your Wi-Fi, you find your PlayStation on the Wi-Fi, and boom, you're done. That is it. There's no sitting there installing apps, going into desktop mode. And I'm not shitting on the Steam Deck at all. I'm absolutely loving my Steam Deck because I'm a little bit of a nerd. I love being able to have that amount of customization. But what I'm saying is that won't appeal to everybody. And if you're someone that doesn't care about customization and you just want to get it done, you want to get it done quick, you want to pick up a game and play, turn it off at the end of the day, and that's done. If you're a dad that works flat out or a mum that works flat out, you come home and you think, shit, I just want to play a little bit more of Portal Knights. I just want to play a little bit more of Stardew Valley, Sea of Stars. These are all games that I'm shouting out, by the way. But they're very casual indie games that you can pick up and play, and they can chill you out. Power Wash Simulator is my new favourite. I'm just chucking names out there now. So if you haven't played any of these games, go and play them, especially on this device. So it will please and do enough for many, many people. But what I will say is, if you're looking for something that has intense customization in terms of sound, screen, night modes, audio capability, emulation in terms of playing PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're not going to find it here. This thing only works with a PS5. It doesn't work with a PS4. It can work on any Wi-Fi as long as your PlayStation 5 is turned on at home or in rest mode, and it will only remote play connect to that PS5. That's all it does. You could do anything that your PS5 can do at home. This thing will obviously mirror it, so anything you do within this device, it changes on your PS5. So if you log into this and you play Call of Duty for 2 hours, which I don't recommend you do, by the way, and I'm about to tell you why, it will save that progress, and it will, because it's just like playing your PlayStation. It's a second screen for your PlayStation. And the benefit of that, I would say, is if you live in a house where there's not many screens, there's not many TVs, and you spend a lot of time with your family, your friends, and they want to put a movie on, but you want to have a game, but you don't want to leave the room and be antisocial. Instead, you can fire this thing up, connect to your PlayStation, you can carry on playing your game, and they can carry on watching their movie. It's convenient. It is really convenient, and I think maybe I shot it down a little bit too much in the beginning when I ranted about it, but all I'm saying is, if you're looking for something basic and very simple, but you love the way that the DualSense feels, you love the controllers, you love the feedback, and you don't mind just having the basic type of settings, you don't really care too much about the screen, but the screen is beautiful, the brightness is amazing, it's a 1080 screen, so it replicates what most monitors replicate unless you've got an absolute kick-ass monitor. This screen is really, really respectable. The colours pop, they're really nice, especially games, like I said, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, where you can really appreciate, even Horizon Forbidden West, where you can appreciate the color density and the dynamicness of the color palettes in those games. This thing will look amazing. For a handheld accessory slash portable console device, this thing is amazing for that. But going on to the cons, this doesn't have Bluetooth. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to rant about that again, but it doesn't have Bluetooth. And in this day and age, for something portable, whether it is an accessory or a gaming device, for it not to have Bluetooth capability is shit. I'm going to say it. And Sony are kind of strong-arming people into buying the wireless headset or the wireless link buds, because it has link adaptation software, by the way, which I would bet cost a lot more to program into this thing than just putting in Bluetooth. So fuck you on that one, Sony. I'm going to say it.
Whatever, I'll do what I want. Whatever, you ain't bad, you ain't nothing.
And moving on, before I start ranting about something else, the other cons about this is, like I said, it can only play PS4 and 5 games. It's a streaming device. And also, it just feels like there's more to it. There should be more to this thing. Do you know what I mean? There's no storage options. There's no memory card. It's a one-trick pony, is what I'm saying. And going on to what I was saying earlier about Call of Duty, there's certain games that you cannot play on this, because whilst I showed you the menu navigation, there was seamless latency, absolutely no lag whatsoever. When you're playing a hectic game like Call of Duty, where you absolutely have to have the edge because it's a competitive multiplayer game, I'm thinking Fortnite, Apex Legends, Call of Duty, League of Legends, anything along those lines, you are going to struggle like hell. And I strongly recommend you don't pick this thing up purely just to play those games, because it's hell. And you'll see what I mean when you come to play it. If you've ever played any one of those games on this thing, you'll notice straight away the screen starts tearing, the lag is real, it becomes a thing, and it feels like you're sort of on top of your game. You'll go to shoot something and then it'll sort of jump a couple of frames and then you'll be dead. So anything where you're looking to play a competitive multiplayer game, even the finals, something like that, even Rocket League, anything where it's intense online multiplayer gameplay, I would say this is not going to be your bag. You're better off getting something very stronger in terms of processing power, like a Steam Deck, like a ROG Ally, something that's literally a small handheld PC, or just get a damn PC. If you're going to be playing something like Call of Duty, you need something that's going to be running quite powerfully. Either play the PlayStation directly or fire up that PC and get a good sort of setup there in terms of RAM and storage and all that kind of stuff and processing power, because you'll need it. But if you're someone that enjoys single player games or very minimal sort of taxing online multiplayer games, like those indie party games, or you know, you're a massive fan of your solo story games like God of War Ragnarok. I keep sharing that game, but it's absolutely amazing and you should play it. Even Lies of P, you could get away with that. Bloodborne, those sorts of single player story games are absolutely fine, and I think you'll appreciate it more playing those games on this than you would an online multiplayer game like Call of Duty. It's not made for it. It's just not got the latency speed. It's not got the transfer rates. It's not fast enough basically to handle, even if you had a really good Wi-Fi connection, it just can't handle the amount of ping that it needs. So that kind of sums up the Portal, guys. There's lots of pros, there's lots of cons, and my honest review on this is I'm kind of in the middle. Because I already own a Nintendo Switch OLED, I've got a Steam Deck, I've had experience with the ROG Ally. This is not in any way, shape or form competition, in my opinion, for those handheld devices. There's just so much more customization with those devices. You've got built-in storage, there's Bluetooth capabilities, there's backwards compatibility with older games, you've got access to the store with those games. You can emulate old games very well. I mean, I've been playing PS1, 2, and 3 games on my Steam Deck, and it runs like an absolute dream. But this thing does tick boxes for certain audiences. And like I said, if you're just the simple gamer out there that just wants to be able to pick something up, you travel a lot, or you've got, you know, there's only 1 or 2 TVs in your house, and another person always tends to hog that TV, you don't want to ask and say, come on, I need to play a little bit more of my game playthrough of Lies of P, please get off the TV. You don't have to do that with this thing. You could just fire up your PlayStation, this thing works, you go downstairs, you spend time with other people, and you can game at the same time. It's very user-friendly, it's very basic, but that's also a pro and a con, if you see what I mean. If you're looking for something that's in-depth, creative, has a shitload of settings, you're not going to find it with this. But if you're someone that wants basic settings, that wants an easy setup, that wants an easy life, that wants something that's got a respectable screen, battery life, fairly good speakers, and you're not too fussed about the whole lack of Bluetooth thing. If you've got your own wired headset, that doesn't bother you, or you've got your own wired headphones, that doesn't bother you, you can just plug it in, or you're quite happy there just blasting the sound out of the built-in speakers, then you'll have a good time with this, and I think it's worth the £200. What I don't think it's worth is if you do want Bluetooth capability, then you have to fork out for the Elite headset or the wireless buds, because then you're looking at £400, and then you're pushing into Steam Deck territory. You may as well pay that extra 50 quid and get yourself a very respectable PC, basically. It's classed as a mini PC, it's a gaming console, but it's got a desktop mode and you can run a Steam Deck as a PC. So anything you can do on a PC, you pretty much can do on a Steam Deck. So you might as well fork out for that extra 50 quid, buy yourself a PC or the ROG Ally, something that's got a lot more respectability in terms of processing power, options, customization, because you're kind of robbing yourself of that. If you're willing to pay £400 for this and one of the headset accessories, you might as well buy the big dog stuff and fork out, because then straight away you've got your Bluetooth. Any headsets, any headphones you already own that have Bluetooth will instantly pair with those devices. You don't have to buy that anyway. You just literally have to buy the console. Do you see what I'm saying? So that is my honest review, guys. It's not as big as a shit show as I thought it was going to be, but I still think there's work to be done, and I think Sony are being very crafty still into strong-arming people in the audio side of it. But in terms of playability, it's really smooth. As I said, it just won't compare well when you're trying to play games like Fortnite, Apex, and COD. It's just not built for it. The latency is not good enough. The ping's not good enough. this is really for someone that just wants to pick up and play a casual game at any point, or someone that's enjoying a solo experience on a story type game like Assassin's Creed, and you're just going to plow through that and play it that way. If you're strict for time, or if you travel around a lot and you do a lot of A and B, room hopping, whatever it is, all you need is a strong Wi-Fi connection and for your PS5 to be in either rest mode or powered on, and then you're good to go. But that is my experience with it, guys. That's my honest review. Let me know what you think about the Portal in the comments if you have picked one up. Thank you so much to Sony for sending me a copy of this. I hope I get to keep it. But this is my very honest thoughts and feelings on it. If you do have any other questions about the Portal, feel free to shout me in the comments. Hit me up on PSN, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, you name it, I'm there. So just let me know. But all in all, it's a 50-50. Remember, this is an accessory. It's not a console. It ticks some things. It gets some things very wrong. But it's basic. So if you like basic, you want it on the easy money, and you're not, you know, you're not too fussed about the audio side of it, then yeah, buy it. It's £200. Otherwise, if you want a bit more from this, if you want a bit more from your gaming accessories generally, and you want more customization, more power, save your money and buy a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or a handheld console, is my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching out the video, guys. Until next time, your host is out of here. Peace.